All right. Well, we're here with the Enterprise Marketer Podcast at Content Marketing World, and we've got lunches coming by. We got brains being, exploded with all this great content. And I'm here with Corey from ER Marketing, and you're one of my neighbors.
Yeah,
So we're only a few feet from each other here in Cleveland, but when we go back to Kansas City, you're just right down the road. I mean, a half a block away. And
yeah.
so, how awesome do you think the River Market is for Pokestops? If Pokemon Go.
Oh, it's amazing, right? We'll have people, almost walk into our front plate glass windows and while we're sitting in the conference room on street level there. And so it's awesome, walking through our office. So hitting a
Yeah,
Pokestop every day that's across the street
I
from
have
us while I'm
walked
sitting at my desk.
I have walked so many laps around the river market just catching Pokemon but it's an awesome place. But you're here at Cleveland with me, and you're an SEO,
Yeah.
and we're at a content marketing conference, and that's the exact conversation that we need to be having now. Is that these once were division points and agencies trying to draw lines and say we need to have this kind of practice and this kind of practice. Those of us who saw the big picture said at some point these are all going to come together. The whole thing has to be under strategy. The whole thing has to be a planned effort.
Yeah, so it's definitely a huge evolution for me to be here. And it's kind of funny because when I think about 5 years ago when I was hardcore, SEO and then, leading, SEO and PPC team. And I was like, search team, that's what I want to be forever. Google's never going away. That's where we're going to make all of our money.
Mm-hmm.
We can attribute, leads and sales directly back to those efforts. It's like, and maybe still only 5 years ago, I was like, social, meh.
Yeah.
Can't attribute that to anything. I can't. It's not a last click attribution model. And so I've come a long way. 3.5 years ago, maybe I'm like, this is silly to be doing SEO in one silo, PPC in another, email, and look at them all as separate line items. So I kind of blew up the silos. And I was, somebody's like, you use silo 21 times in like 3 minutes in your talk. I'm like, well, silos are gone. I'm only talking about blowing them up. They're a past tense thing now. Where we went to a more integrated digital marketing approach, more like, we're going to use what makes sense and we're going to tie it all together and report on it together. So you understand how, from an attribution standpoint, what social is doing and how it's, helping search or vice versa. And so my next evolution as I continue to grow and admit that, search isn't the end all be all is why I'm right here. So
Yeah.
working on, had some good points validated this week, but I mean, I've in the last 6 months come up with my diagram that anybody could argue and structure a different way. But I mean, it's content strategy at the top. And I created this because so many people are confused even on the wording. What's content strategy versus content marketing? Where does SEO and PPC and the other digital and even offline channels fit into that? So took content strategy, put it on the top. It's important to develop your personas, understand your competitive landscape, understand what mind share you want, what your message is, what gaps you have, and do some gap analysis on the customer journey. Understand all that, and I just threw in like how many buzzwords right there. Just trying to talk about the top of my diagram, and then the content production, which is often where we start, and it doesn't necessarily flow out of the strategy. We're trying to do the production based on assumptions, not based on real research and data.
Yeah.
And the staff
Feelings, right? I think they want this.
And being in an agency, and I mean this with all due respect to my clients, love my clients, they're the fuel of what I do and why I love doing it every day. But it's, they know their customer based on their experience. So there's even if it's just validation to ensure that we're hitting the right segments. And yesterday heard, the stat that only 20% of our audience are ready and willing and able to make a purchase, but is 95% of our content pushed at trying to get them to buy now and make that decision. So filling those gaps and making sure we're covered and not just producing content, throwing it out there, seeing if it sticks, while also not making it such a big production that we lose sight of any type of agile, methodologies for marketing.
Yeah, I
It's finding that balance.
totally see that. It's almost like marketing got measured with the sales measurements. And all of a sudden they were trying to figure out, how do we do ROI and how do we figure out how we're selling more? And it's like, well, there's other measurements that come into marketing, and that old cliche, phrase of half of my marketing works. I just don't know what half, right?
Right.
That means that you have to have a comprehensive set of tools that you're using to reach an audience with content, and SEO is a big piece of
Hmm.
that because search is not going away like you accurately thought. But the way the SERP, works, or the way people actually interface with the search. I was talking to MJ from Microsoft beforehand about my kids don't search for the spelling of words like we do. Go to Google, misspell it, right? And then
Right.
auto-corrected version shows up. You copy that and you put it in there. They hit the microphone button and
Yep.
ask Siri, or then they yell out to Alexa to do something in the house.
We
And
just had
so,
a conversation about this last week with John Gagnon, who is a Bing Ads evangelist and a colleague of AJ's, and he just spoke in Kansas City to the search engine KC SEM group, and it was all about voice, and it's mind blowing. We don't quite have the data yet. It's not in Bing Webmaster Tools or Google
yeah,
Webmaster Tools of voice versus text, and but it's interesting because they're a step away still maybe from getting it to be true voice because it's voice translated into text, run
mm,
through the Bing algorithm, and then sent back as voice or text based on if
yeah,
you're on your computer or if you're on Alexa. But what's crazy is the partnerships and the blurring lines there because a lot of consumers don't really understand or realize that Bing powers pretty much everything. They power Alexa, they power Cortana, they power um, so that they're behind, and they power Apple's Siri. So they're behind providing the data and the search results. But you wouldn't think you're not thinking as you talk to Alexa that you're talking to Bing's search engine algorithm,
yeah,
right? You're talking,
yeah.
and but your queries and what you're saying are so much different. And so I'm not, if I'm thinking about traditional SEO, I'm thinking about those money keywords and topics and phrases over here that are close to that
Help,
conversion point.
whatever, help.
I'm
Right?
not think yeah, I'm not thinking about the question somebody's asking
Yeah,
early on in the buying journey. And I do a lot of B2B, but it's, I can see some major B2C applications right now if I'm own a pizza franchise
hmm,
of making sure I'm answering that question and I'm showing up in the search results. So I'm the voice search back and I can just integrate and pizza's on the way
yeah,
versus being over here trying to be like pizza, pizza in 64155,
yeah,
whatever it is. And
yeah,
so it's interesting, but SEO, the old way and the way, is for content is I stay in my silo. I need 3 pages to hit these 3 topics. I come up and ask for it from the creative team or from the client or whomever. Then I go back into my silo.
hmm,
I take that content. So it's a pull approach instead of a top down push approach that if I know what we're doing from the top down, I can share it with all
yeah,
those channels across the board. And we're not, we're so much more efficient and we can reuse that content.
exactly. And one of the things, like, content creators have always been content creators. They've not been strategists, right? Usually, right?
Yeah.
They come from a lot of them come from news backgrounds or something out of journalism, and then they create business oriented content, and then they work their way into strategy, and then they usually pull back quick. That's what the statistics say, right? 38% or whatever
Yeah.
have a written content strategy. Software developers that build those HTML pages that you all love, right? They come from an engineering background or just a science background. They work their way in and they get the math and they understand the algorithms and they understand how to, write the appropriate if statements, and they build you the HTML, but they never came from a strategy background.
Right.
Neither one of these two departments will deploy a sitemap
No.
by default. Neither one of these two departments will consider the cards that you would need for social networks or schema or even a meta description, right?
Hmm.
The strategist, the guy who says, this isn't just SEO, this is social, this is integration, this is crosslink, this is embedly, this is everything that's being out there. We need all this information so we can strategically get our content out, and the people who come by and farm and feed and get into it, and then the audio algorithms and all these other voice search algorithms, they can get our content because it's not just code or just text,
Right.
right? It's a real experience. And so that's why I think SEOs who aren't moving into content strategy are just, waiting too long to let somebody else take their job.
Well, and there's some evidence of content and even PR coming back into SEO, because I mean, there's been a lot of talk this year about, okay, well, anchor link, anchor text links, doesn't matter because it got spammed too much. It's been written off for a few years now, but brand mentions without links. And this is some of the evolution of what we see with machine learning, with rank brain, and some of the other things that Google is doing, where I mean, it was, take even a step back, it was almost, I was like, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing at SMX West earlier this year when one of the Google lead engineers on the algorithm team said, no one person on our algorithm team knows the whole algorithm or knows or can put it together because some of it's machine learning and there's so many different things going on and it's constantly evolving itself versus I'm going to code and roll out a release.
Skynet just took everything.
And so it's like, is that good or is it bad? But it's kind of cool in a way because
Yeah.
there's so much more context and understanding of literal content language versus keyword. And even, something I've had forever, latent semantic indexing, LSI, going way, way back of taking what's this word about? And now if is Java the country, the code, coffee, and going, one word out each way before and after and to
Yeah.
try to find context. I mean, that was sophisticated back then and they could understand it based on contextual cues, but it's now like mind blowing
Yeah.
to understand that they're going to move into the bigger picture and look at signals that are beyond what a traditional SEO would consider something to care about.
Oh yeah, I mean, just seeing that the adoption of things like schema, which a lot of people still aren't using, and that's unfortunate
Yeah.
because if you open up your browser, right click, say view source. This is what the world sees, and it's complicated, and everyone designs it different.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a painting. If we all painted this building, every single painting would look different, and some of them we wouldn't even know it's this building, right? They're just going to be abstract or whatever. But schema and structured data and the ability to have consistency beyond just title description is really what's going to help drive some of these elements. So now when you go into, Rosedale in Kansas and you search barbecue, you're not getting the Food Network's, recipe for barbecue because they have the largest content network out there on barbecue sauce, thanks to Bobby Flay and all of the team of writers they have behind them. You're getting Oklahoma or Kansas City Joe's because they know your intent based off of where you are and why
Right.
everyone else in the world is there searching for barbecue.
And so with so many things that roll out, I was at SMX Advanced in 2009 when schema was like being talked about, and Google and Bing are there and Yahoo are all talking. They're like, we all agreed on this thing. We want you to mark up your sites. And then of course the skeptical nature of SEOs is like, we're gonna wait and see because you're gonna now keep them on your site because we're giving you structured data so you can pull in more of our content into Google. And Google can answer their question without giving us the traffic that we were getting. So there was a lot of skepticism early on, but now it's like you have to be doing schema and figure out the right libraries because it's now feeds into PPC, into AdWords, and so and now local. I mean, so your review scores and everything else because the restructuring of the Google search results page streamlined for quote unquote mobile. Well, it's also streamlined to allow for more real estate with the expanded text ads now, the new format that's rolling out, and the opportunity to get more structured snippets and things in there. If you're not owning, if you've got 3 lines of text and you're buried, 8 spots down below ads and organic results that have a whole bunch of rich markup and take up
color,
8 lines,
right?
and color, star ratings and everything else.
Yeah.
They're not going to, I mean, it goes back to, what Bruce Clay talked about, years ago too, is, the first 3 spots of the page 1. And now maybe the first 3 ads are page 1. So if you're not as an SEO focused on what those ads look like above you, even for spots 1, 2, or 3, you may not even get that traffic.
Today, real time is the only time that counts. To stay relevant, you have to stay ahead. Your customers want the right information, right now, wherever they are. So how do you meet the demands of today's customers? By marketing in context. Context accounts for a customer's interaction with your brand. So each touch builds on the next, creating more meaningful experiences for your customers. At Sitecore, we call this context marketing. To do it well, you need marketing technology that has 3 things: contextual intelligence, content management, and omni-channel automation. Contextual intelligence gives you the information you need about your consumers, so the content you manage is more relevant and is automatically delivered wherever your customers are. The Sitecore Experience platform was built for context marketing, so you can create a more personalized customer experience. Demand more from your marketing technology. Demand more from marketing. Own the experience. Sitecore.
Yeah. And, then the shareability of your content. We used to fight for internal links, right? Or fight for outbound links. So let's go talk, one of the SEO strategies was let's go find a bunch of people that have good, rich domains and have them point back in. Thing still works, just nobody does it, right?
Right.
Nobody organically shares links with other people. Because we're so competitive with the juice that we have. We're afraid that the algorithm's going to change, and the fact that I had a page like 1,000 pieces of content ago that linked to a bad domain, that all of a sudden I'm going to get, you know, just drop down and considered a content network or something like that. It's
Yeah.
like we're all so beholden to these rules that are changing, and we never get the playbook to know that they're changing in the middle of the game. It's like playing basketball and they throw you a baseball and say keep going. It's like, and
Yeah.
but technology is allowing for that to change and disrupting Google even, right?
Absolutely.
So that's why SEOs really need to stop. Yes, it will impact us if we drop in page rank, and it'll impact us if we get hit with these algorithm changes. But if we sit back and look at what they're saying, like, pop-up ads in January, probably not a good thing if you like it, or, not having SSL certificates on your site, or not having embedded content so the user stays on your site. All these recent changes are far less about the things that were concerning us and more about the things that we should be concerned.
Well, and a lot of that, the major algorithm updates get everybody running around freaking out. But it's like, Webmaster Tools I had in my inbox this morning, or Search Console team,
I hate
whatever
the new
team,
name.
whatever
Yeah.
team it's called.
No one
Um,
who referred to themselves as a webmaster really hated the title. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So-
So what they posted today was this big long thing, and it was like it goes back to Penguin and the intent. So it's really about what is the intent of what they're trying to get you to do or not do here to move forward, because it's not going away. It's not just this one little legalistic, well, I'll follow the rule here and then I'll be okay. But it's about, if you have widgets, you have plugins, whatever, and you have a link hard coded in there back to you. Well, we knew that back at Penguin, but apparently it's still happening, and people aren't realizing it until they get penalized. And it's just another one of those little things where it's like, let's understand the intent behind something, and it's not just a rule. We're
Yeah.
not still just following a checklist with a bunch of rules. We need to think a lot more strategically
Yeah.
when it comes to search.
I mean, I always think SEO is so much of it is quality assurance. That it is you are the gatekeeper that is looking at the things that multiple teams are putting together and putting out and saying, whoa, right? But that we still need that. We need consistency. We need to have a story told. If you can add into that quality assurance piece the understanding of the personas, the understanding of our mission statements, the understanding of the content that is important to them, and then you're that check to say, not you gave me a 72 character title, shorten it up by 3 characters and give it back to me, right? But you gave me a title that our audience doesn't care about. This doesn't fit through the model, and we start
Yeah.
to get to be the gatekeeper for the strategy.
I think there's a complete loop there. So I think making sure that, because for a long time, SEO, BBC even didn't have a seat at the table strategically early in the process. So I think that's important, because we can make sure we don't go down a path that where it gets all the way down to me, and then I have to try to make it fit, or I give you a recommendation or a rewrite recommendation that you don't like on the creative team or the copywriter. But at the same time, not be so short-sighted to say, well, I'm at the table and you're going to do it this way, and you're going to stuff these keywords in there and you're going to like it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and not being that dictator. And I think that's where the concepts I like to talk about a lot of agile marketing, because if we're small iterations, then whether or not that information comes at the beginning or at the end of something we produced, it will always be available at that next iteration of something we produce. So
Yeah.
if on a team and I'm engaging early with a client and they're producing content and I come in, when it's coming out the door and I have to do my gatekeeping there, I can provide insights. I can provide understanding. I just don't have to say that old SNL script of Jimmy Fallon, right? It's
Mhm.
like, I got a computer problem, move,
Yeah.
just get out of the way, let me do it, right? But instead, I get to actually take the time and explain it to them.
Mhm.
And then that next go, I can do the quality check.
And you get the data then. So even if there is any, I don't know, where it feels like an opinion, you get to validate it quickly
Put it out. Yeah.
versus having your entire campaign that you developed over 3 months that's launching out, and then it's like, well, we really hope. Well,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
we
we
need some
know.
data to validate this and not have it be, opinion
Exactly.
based.
Exactly. One of the funniest things that people ask me is, am I going to drip the posts that we're or all the shows that we're doing here over the next few months? And I'm like, no, why wait? Like if I have 40 or 30 or 20 great pieces of content,
Mhm.
I understand that the audience, needs to have something consistent over time. They all came to the event. They all are watching the event at home, right? That event lives at different times. So my pushing of content and releasing of content should be based off of the audience and not
Mhm.
based off of my needs. And like you said, let's get it out to them quicker. Let's see those pieces, but maybe and not wait for the whole thing to kind of and then we fail, right?
Well, yeah, because then you don't have the opportunity for any repurposing strategy. If you're like, I've got one shot and I'm gonna piece out each one, and they have a little bit of a half life. No, you can stuff that got great engagement. There's probably more people out there that still didn't hear it that would love it even a
Mhm.
month later because it's got more of an evergreen quality than a news angle
Absolutely.
quality.
Yeah,
So
you
then you
use your
learn that.
distribution channels to
Yeah.
then control your distribution, right? That's what I love about that Netflix model is
Mhm.
Stranger Things was 13 hours, but for me that was 1 week of of binging.
Yeah.
And now I want more, but like when we watched some of the other shows, it might have been 3 weeks over
Mhm.
time. It was all available for me to choose the schedule. And now I have to wait for the other schedule, but that's okay with me. And so
It's great as long as you're an adult and you can still make it to work and all that. When you're a 5-year-old and 2-year-old want to binge watch, and you're like, I gotta get to school.
yeah,
I gotta get you guys to
exactly.
school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it'll be a problem whenever.
But again, that's personas, right?
Yeah.
Understand who we're talking to.
Awesome. Well, as we wrap this up, is there any parting thoughts you'd like to give some of the content marketers out there?
It's just it's let's be careful with our jargon and the wording we use because whether we're an agency, whether we're a brand, we're talking to someone probably every day about using alphabet soup and acronyms and customer journey and buyer's journey and sales cycle. That's my biggest challenge right now is again finding that standard language and easily defining it and making sure we don't skip a step. It's easier to make sure we've got our bases covered if we're all speaking the same language. So that's my parting thought for
Yeah.
today is let's just be careful in how we throw all this around because again the stats are showing us that we all know we need to be doing it. We all probably are speaking the same language, but we're not 100% on
On the
any of
same
those
page.
scales,
Yeah.
on any of those stats of all doing what we think and know we need to be doing.
Yeah. Everybody needs to know the rules of the game and play by those rules. And we need the referees and we need the players and we need to have fun and enjoy being around each other. So
Yeah.
awesome. Well, thank you for your time. I can't wait to see you again in KC when we get
Yeah,
back.
appreciate it. Thanks, Jeff.
There are so many marketing tools to choose from these days, more than 3,500 the last time we checked. If you're overwhelmed and confused, you're not alone. With so many options, marketers are having a difficult time trying to select which tools will meet their team's unique needs. So why do the top content marketing teams choose DVHQ? It's because of our unique focus. Let me explain. The typical content marketing process looks something like this. You start with a defined strategy, then you ideate and brainstorm with your team. Create a plan of attack, produce the content, optimize it, then publish and promote the content, and finally, review the analytics to see how your content performed. As you may know, most marketing software tools are built to support the back half of this process. There are countless CMS platforms, email marketing tools, marketing automation systems, social publishing tools, analytics suites, etc. The list goes on and on. But here's the thing. The back half of the process is not where companies are really struggling. What marketing teams are really struggling with is the upfront part of the process, the strategy, the ideation, planning, workflow, and collaboration during the content production process. Sound familiar? If you don't get your upfront strategy and planning right, the odds of consistently publishing great content is, well, not very good. So these upfront areas are where we focus 100%. We don't want to reinvent wheels or be a jack of all trades, master of none type of content marketing solution. DiviHQ was on a mission to build a content marketing platform that makes it incredibly easy for you to plan and produce high quality content more efficiently. This approach then gives you the freedom to integrate and connect DiviHQ to your preferred downstream tools. So, if you're looking for help with strategy, ideation, planning, and collaboration, then we're the solution for you.